Hey kids, Dad here. It is Saturday, June 13th, 2026. It's about 2 in the afternoon. It's been a pretty busy Saturday. But I'm going to skip all the excitement this morning and go right into one of the final ones on my gratitude list here as we're getting up into the present day along my timeline. But this one's pretty neat because this one is the only name that appears twice on my list. Now, a lot of the people I've mentioned over the last, couple dozen videos for my gratitudes, I could cite multiple instances. But this one has the distinction of having two entries almost 2 years apart. And this is my dear friend, Josh Turner. Josh Turner. I met Josh through an organization, nonprofit called Warriors Next Adventure. And Josh had a very, he's a tall guy, in good shape, good looking kid, couple years younger than me, maybe 4 or 5 years younger than me, served in the same time frame. He was an Army guy, 10th Mountain guy, infantry guy, squared away soldier. In the 20 teens, he struggled a bit adjusting back to the civilian world. And I met him through Warriors Next Adventure in the spring of 2024. And I liked him immediately. At first, the first time I saw him, I was like, who's this guy? He looks kind of intimidating, right? But he has this incredibly calm disposition. He's somebody who he definitely thinks before he speaks. And he's the kind of person I can't imagine ever seeing him angry or upset. Just an incredibly warm peace to him, kind of a tranquility to his soul. If you ever met him, hopefully when you get to meet him someday, you'll understand what I mean by that. So, met him 1, 2, 3 times, some volunteer events for Project Got Your Back. For Warriors Next Adventure. And then later that summer, Project Got Your Back had a retreat at that big 16-bedroom estate out in Victoria that I've been to a couple times now. And there were some extra bedrooms there that time. And I thought to myself, well, I bet that Josh guy, he was going through like a bad breakup or something. Like, I bet he could use maybe a weekend away. So I rang him up, and sure enough, he said, yeah, I'd love to. So I got to spend that weekend in 2024, in the summer. And I got to spend about 3 days, and me and Josh were thick as thieves. We were doing kayaking, bonfires, hiking, the whole gambit that we do out there. And we get to know each other really well. We both opened up about some things around some little campfires and little meditation exercises. And we got to know each other's story really well. And I came away from that retreat with him being entered onto my gratitude list. So I was so grateful for him. The wisdom and perspective he brought to everything. He was clearly a very deeply spiritual person. And that was something that I didn't have at that time, but I admired it. There's something about it that I admired. I believed that he believed. And I saw the results in him. And it was wild. So that's how he made my gratitude list for the first time. It was that weekend in 2024. So then, I go on, I get to see Josh a handful more times, various recreational events, volunteer events, things like that. And then ultimately, Josh moves back home, what's home for him, to South Carolina. And then the second entry came up on the weekend of April 11, 2026 here, just about 2 months ago now. And what happened is last fall, I would talk to Josh, every couple of weeks we connect for a phone call. And, last year, 2025, as I'm going through sobriety and having these God experiences that I've talked to kids about in recent videos, I'm talking to Josh routinely because he's like my God guy. He's the guy who he's read the Bible. He lives in it. He is deep into his church, into his faith. So routinely, and over the winter months, I'm calling him every couple of weeks as I'm reading through the Bible in different parts of the Old Testament, and I'm reflecting back on with the New Testament, and I'm calling him about that concert I went to with Jason and Kayla, that Elevation Worship, and we're talking about, all these different things, and it was so cool. We connected on this whole new level. So last fall, at one point, he had met a girl out there in South Carolina, and that was a surprise for me because Josh was coming up on 40 years old, and it's at that age you maybe think maybe you're just never going to get married, but he met this incredible girl, and he proposed to her, and they moved pretty quick. Within about 6 months, the wedding was planned and happening. I remember Josh called me and asked me, asked me if I could do him a favor, and I'm like, of course, what, you name it. He said, will you be a part of my wedding? He asked me to be a groomsman. And I was thoroughly humbled, thoroughly humbled. At the time, I had no money. I still had very little money. But I said, absolutely, Josh. And I was able to say that because I knew in my experience that God would provide. If it was part of God's plan for me to be there, he would provide. So I go out to South Carolina there, and I get to spend the weekend. And the interesting thing was, I didn't know anybody except for Josh. So I fly into Charleston, South Carolina, not knowing a soul. But I know Josh, and I love Josh. Absolutely love him to death. And he picks me up from the airport, and we got to spend about a half day. He just kind of showed me around town, showed me where he grew up, pointed out, that's the mall I used to work at when I was in high school, and his hometown. I got to meet his now his wife. Got to meet her family, his relatives. The following day, got to meet his mother and father, his brother, some of his childhood best friends, all these guys. And the cool thing, what really makes what made my gratitude list for him was, he invited me in to his family, to be a part of his family in that event. And I had never seen a family like that one, like the one that he has, that he came from and that he's building with his wife now. How deep the faith and spirituality was just central to everything. And throughout the whole weekend, I was out there for about 4 days or so. I was reflecting back to me and your mother's wedding, and alcohol was kind of involved in everything. And I think over the 4 days, the groom's dinner, the night before the wedding, I think the boys had one drink with dinner. I had a Diet Coke or something, something non-alcoholic, obviously. But I think they had one drink with dinner. And I think at the wedding, they probably had one drink to toast at the wedding dinner. And that was about it. But central to everything was God. I remember that we took a chance, the boys, we got together the day of the ceremony. We met up on this beach. And we just got in a circle, and we just took turns praying. Praying for the day, praying for Josh, praying for blessings for the ceremony. And that was kind of how it was throughout the weekend. It was just sprinkled in all these little God moments of prayer and worship and praise. And that was such an incredible experience for me to really see firsthand somebody who lives hand in hand with their faith, how they go about practicing that. And to see it on the whole family level too. It's such a beautiful thing. It was a deep honor to be able to do that. And I'm eternally grateful to Josh for inviting me into his family, letting me be a part of that day, that whole event. And I look forward to you kids, hopefully getting to spend a day on your wedding someday, if you'd invite me to be there, to be a part of that, for me to bring some prayer into it with you kids. And I thank you to Josh. I've seen what I think a good spiritual wedding looks like. I've never seen one before. Certainly Me and your mom's, it was in church, but it wasn't God focused. Like that's maybe why things didn't work out for me and your mom. So anyhow, I love you kids so much. I hope you're having a blast. Today it's a gorgeous Saturday, summer break, and I get to see you kids in 3 more days. I think 3 more days coming up. Thank goodness. Love you kids. We'll talk soon.